Hi, this is Derek. Today there's been another review purge on Amazon. So every 3 or 6 months, Amazon goes through and strips a lot of reviews, possibly by blocking some of the reviewers themselves from being able to post reviews, or just deleting any reviews that they think is suspect. So whenever this happens, a lot of new authors freak out and spam Facebook with, oh my God, I had 6 reviews and now 3 are missing, and it seems like the end of the world. And there are things you can do to help prevent Amazon from deleting your reviews, but it's important to be aware of the terms and service when you're using Amazon. And I'm always kind of surprised, although that's not really the right word, that authors don't know this stuff. But the truth is, Amazon's always updating its rules. So the last time I looked at the rules was probably like half a year ago. We set up a new ARC system. ARC is advanced reader copy. So when you have an advanced reader copy, you give out a free book to a reviewer and you hope that they review. You can't expect it or demand it. They aren't obligated in any way to post a review, so that's one thing to be careful about. But I set up a new ARC system and we actually made some mistakes that someone pointed out to me. So I went back and read through the terms of service more carefully, made a big blog post, and ultimately I don't think I published the blog post. I thought I had made a video, but maybe I didn't. Probably because I didn't want to step out and show people what I was doing wrong, that I had made this mistake. But this is something that keeps happening. It's pretty common. I had a question in this week in my Guerrilla Publishing group about the same mistakes that I had made earlier. So it's one of those things that seems like it would be a good idea and make sense, but if you do it wrongly, it could have negative impact to your Amazon account. Anyway, so I'm going to get into this long blog post I wrote breaking down the terms of service, what you are allowed to do and what you aren't allowed to do, what I recommend doing if you want to get more book reviews. My best book, or my favorite book, my novel, has almost 700 reviews right now. I just checked, I thought it was 500, now it's almost 700, which is awesome. It still doesn't sell very well, but I've managed to get a lot of reviews on that book. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of what I did for that book and some of what I do for newer books. So first I'm just going to go through the quick and dirty actual rules. Amazon does allow you to give out ARC copies, and I've seen a couple posts in the last couple of years. There have been some big purges, which makes it seem like Amazon doesn't like ARC copies, and specifically the language. So the language that was getting a lot of suspicion was something like, I received this book in exchange for an honest review, or something like that, which used to be what Amazon recommended reviewers actually post, but now is something that seems like it says reviewers got a free book and they gave the review in exchange. Like, it's kind of paying for the review, which is against the rules. You are allowed to give away free copies of your book to people, and you can hope that they review your book, but it can't be a quid pro quo. You can't expect it or demand it or even follow up exactly. And so it gets a little weird because you don't want to give out tons of free books to everybody. You want to try to only build a review team of people who like your work and appreciate your genre, and are likely to already enjoy your book. And when you have that review team, you can give them free copies and hope that they review, but you have to be careful with your phrasing. It's basically the same thing, but you can't say, I'm going to give you a book and you're required to review. And this was one of the mistakes I made, which I'll go into in a little more detail. So I've already built up a pretty big email list for fiction, which is fine, and I recommend using book giveaways to build a list. You can't give something away in exchange for reviews. You can't buy a review in any shape or form, but you can offer a prize to build an email list of targeted readers who enjoy your genre. And then you can offer that email list that you built a free book. You can say, hey, thanks for signing up for the giveaway. You didn't win, but I have a new book coming out. I'm looking for 100 reviewers who might be interested. Sign up here if you would like to, or join my Facebook team or whatever. So you're trying to pull people who you've already vetted as they have an interest in your topic or your genre. They're interested in it for nonfiction, the problem that you want to solve or whatever. You've built that list separately. Now you offer them the free book or the chance to get a free book. And one of the things I've done on my Facebook group, and I have a page and a group which I use for different reasons. The page you can run advertisements from. The group, I believe you still can't on Facebook, but groups get more engagement. You can do more other things. So with the groups, you can ask questions before they join. So for example, I ask, what's your favorite Derek Murphy book? So they could look it up real fast, but the idea is only people who might review my books and like my genre and hopefully have read something of mine before and they're actual fans get into that group. That means they're going to be more likely to know who I am and respond when I post stuff. You don't really want to flood your group with a whole bunch of freebie seekers who don't know you at all, because the other thing that people point out, if you're on Insta Freebie or BookFunnel and you're joining all these author promotions, which is a good idea, or even if you join, a multi-author book giveaway to build an email list, those are all freebie seekers who don't know you. Even if they loaded your book, it doesn't mean anything yet. You have to nurture that relationship. You have to post a lot of good, engaging content. You have to get them to know and recognize who you are and what your brand stands for, so that you can encourage them to finally start reading the free book that they downloaded. You could be sharing other people's reviews. You could be sharing excerpts or cool art that goes along with your book. Anything that makes them interested in actually starting to read. I've even sent emails with just the first few pages of the book so that they get, hooked by the story, and then I try to get them on an ARC team or to buy the book or whatever. And this is just for books in general on Amazon. So in the terms, it does say you can give away free books. You just can't expect, it can't be a service. You can't demand the reviews from readers, but that's still fine. So ARCs are still fine. It gets a little confusing with Kindle Unlimited, because Kindle Unlimited is a 3-month exclusivity contract where you're not allowed to give out more than 10% of your book outside of Amazon. And so ARCs are kind of illegal in that sense. You can still give away ARC copies before the book is published or enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. So you could finish the book, put up ARC copies, get some people reading it first before you put it in Kindle Unlimited, which you might want to do if you have time, if you have a really planned out launch. I typically don't anymore. And so this was the other thing that surprised me, and what changed was that now it says you can only give away ARC copies if you're in Kindle Unlimited for quality control purposes. So if you're giving it to beta readers who are helping you to proofread for typos, for example, which is something most of my ARC readers know and expect. I may have it pretty done and pretty clean, but I always say there's probably a couple typos. Let me know if you find some. So even if you just do that, ARC copies would still be okay if you're in Kindle Unlimited. You can't give it away to everybody like I used to have. I think someone called me out because I had a free, I was trying to give an ARC copy when the book was in Kindle Unlimited, but I made it something like my opt-in offer. So when they opted in for the book, or they opted in for my email list, then I sent them the book, or then I sent them 20% of the book or something. I was, more than I should have. So I had to stop doing that and only give away 10%. When strangers sign up to your email list, you can't give away a book that's in Kindle Unlimited. If you've screened them and put them into a private community so that they are your beta readers or ARC readers, and you're sending it for quality control purposes. So it can't be the opt-in offer, but it can still be something you send out to your fans. So the other reviews, the mistakes we made when we were trying to set up that Facebook group, and I was actually working with a partner who didn't know all of the legal rules of Amazon. So what seemed like a smart idea was to ask for their Amazon details so we can see that they review other books in the genre, or that they've reviewed one of my other books, just to kind of prove that they have an account. You're required now to spend at least $50 on Amazon before you can post reviews. Also, you don't want people who are just reviewing all this crazy stuff. You want people who buy and read in your genre to review, because that's really going to help with the algorithms. Anyway, so we thought it would be a good idea to ask for a link to their Amazon profile, but we took that down because you can't actually do that. And I also said something like, we're going to limit this group to 100 people, and we will remove the people who aren't reviewing the books, because we don't want to send out free books to people who don't have time to review them. or something like that, or if you don't have time to review them, or if you're no longer interested in these books, or you're not engaged in the platform, we will remove you and replace you with new people, which again seems like totally fair common sense. But if you read the rules carefully, it says something like reviewing can't be linked to a membership community, or you can't expect or demand reviews in exchange for participation or membership. So we remove that part also, just to be careful. But I still did leave a bunch of stuff. When you join my private ARC Facebook group, there's a big welcome post with a list of rules and expectations where I, make it clear what we hope and what we expect without breaking terms of service, which I think is smart to do to lead readers to an understanding that, you have a limited number of books, and those books may go to the people who are reviewing more frequently or who have time, or first come, first serve. You're basically just trying to get them to acknowledge that they need to be engaged, or they might stop seeing the posts on Facebook, which is true without breaking Amazon's terms. So another thing I forgot to mention that's pretty common, you can't actually have friends or family. Anyone living in the same household can't review your books, but also friends, colleagues, they can't really review your books. If Amazon sees any kind of point of contact between social media or emails or anything, it will be a suspect review, and they will probably delete it. And you don't actually want friends or family reviewing your books, because you only want actual readers who enjoy your book, which can be frustrating if you don't have an email list, you don't have any readers, you don't know any people. You have to get 5 or 10 reviews before you can even start marketing. A lot of authors get stuck because they can't get any reviews. And while that can indicate a product problem, if your cover doesn't communicate the right, if the cover isn't professional enough and doesn't communicate the genre, if the blurb isn't gripping, if you don't have enough keywords to be found, and if you have no way of visibility, your book will be invisible, you'll never get any reviews. So it can be difficult. That's why I really strongly focus on list building and community building, or organic traffic through blogging, because it's sort of necessary. There are other ways you can use BookFunnel, InstaFreebie, Story Origin, I think is the other one, to try to get some advanced reviews. Although I've seen this week in this post, some people from Story Origin are having reviews deleted also. So here's another thing. Someone was asking me recently, they were thinking about joining my course, but they were interested in another course because the other course promised a launch team of reviewers. So they would help you do some list building, or possibly behind the scenes, they would have their own review team who would post reviews on your books. And that can sound really beneficial, but probably it's not really going to work. Whenever there's a bunch of people who will review a book, no matter whether or not it's any good, or no matter if they enjoy reading that genre or topic or whatever, that's always a little bit suspicious. And switching gears, the other thing I didn't mention was that when you post a link to your book anywhere, you need to use a clean link, which when you are on your books page on Amazon, if you look up on the top bar where you have the URL web address, the clean link will end in your ASIN number, ASIN, and the rest of it is identification code, which tells Amazon who the person sharing the link is. So if you pull that link and then you share it by email or social media or whatever, whenever readers go and leave a review or get your book on Amazon, Amazon knows that you sent them, which is kind of how they track you. So that, if you didn't know that, now you know. It's something you need to be careful about, using the clean link. So the final strategy or piece of advice I will leave you with is free books or perma-free books. And I know that not everybody likes the idea of giving their books away for free. I've talked a lot about this in the past. Your book is only worth what people are willing to pay for it. If you don't have any reviews, you can't prove that your book is any good to people who don't know you, and they're not going to buy your book. The only way to get people to buy your book is to have reviews. In the beginning, when you don't have an email list or platform or anything, you may need to give away a lot of books for free, especially if you are overcoming hurdles like not having a very good book cover, or having the wrong book cover, or maybe your blurb isn't very strong, or you don't have any reviews. If those are unsurmountable hurdles, giving away free copies of your book might be a solution in the short term to start pulling in some readers and at least give your book a chance, because some readers are reading it. Also, if you're in Kindle Unlimited, you can use up to 5 free days, which do show, last I checked, as verified reviews. So if if you just set your book for free, it's not going to do anything. You have to also book some promotional blasts. There are genre-specific book email services, book marketing services like Fussy Librarian or e-reader News Today. There's a list of 5 or 10. I have them in the Guerrilla Publishing group or my workbook. There's a big list of the ones I recommend. They're not super, but they're a lot better than nothing. And if you stack them together, you can get a significant number of downloads, especially on a free offer. And those books that are downloaded, if they're in Kindle Unlimited, if they're set to free through Kindle Unlimited, when people get those books and review them, they should show as verified purchase, which is kind of nice. So I actually usually don't do much ARC copies anymore. I will just put the book up for sale and start with a few free days so that my readers can download for free and post reviews. Which, yes, it means you're not really making as much money from your list, but you get the reviews quickly. So I mostly use my list for reviews, but I could also have like a smaller private Facebook group with, I think, 500 or 600 people who are my ARC readers. And then I have my main fiction list, which is at like 15,000 or something, about a 20 or 30% open rate, which isn't great. Actually, I haven't really engaged that community as much as I should have, but I don't publish very often. That's a different topic, what to put in your emails. I have a lot of resources on that. That's basically all I wanted to say in this video. If you feel like, Amazon is screwing you over by stealing your hard-won reviews, I do think Amazon has an obligation to purchasers to make sure that they can trust the reviews on the platform. So if there's any bias at all, if someone's doing you a favor or they're afraid, like maybe your neighbor read your book and you keep nagging them for a review and they finally post one and it's good, but it's not really authentic because people who know you probably can't be honest, as honest as they would normally be. So if you have serious flaws with your book, peers aren't really going to point that out to you, which is why Amazon is careful with allowing possibly biased reviews. I think they have an obligation to do that. It does suck when your reviews get deleted. Hopefully I've provided some tips on how to do better. Once you have 25 or 30 reviews, then you can start marketing or advertising and not really worry about your reviews so much. It is a lot harder in the beginning, but you got to keep pushing to get them. Once you have enough, then you don't have to work so hard. And you also probably won't notice, I probably get 5 or 10 reviews a year. I don't sell my books particularly well right now, but mostly because they're unfinished series. The completed box sets, they're much easier to market or advertise and be profitable from. But I also, I'm very happy that my first books in my uncompleted series, one has 350 reviews, one has 700 reviews. By the time I get that series finished, that book one is going to be really valuable because, it'll be a lot easier to sell people into the series because they can see that book one has a ton of reviews. I mostly probably have done that with a lot of free books. One book I did a free campaign and I got a BookBub for, I think. So that's like 15,000, 20,000 downloads or something. The other book, I might have left perma-free for a few months when I was starting out writing fiction, just to kind of leave it there and get reviews. So that's how it racked up so many reviews. Your reviews are always going to be maybe 1% of your readers, which can be much higher if you're building a relationship and they're fans and they know you and like you. But if they're strangers, 1% is a reasonable estimate. So you would have to give away or sell 100 books, and it's a lot easier to give away 100 books than to sell 100 books. If you wanted 10 or 20 reviews, you'd have to be going through 1,000 readers. So you either sell 1,000 copies, which you can't do with no reviews, or you give away 1,000 copies to start out, and later you can sell 1,000 copies. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions. You can post down below in the comments. Bye-bye. So I was actually just on Amazon and I thought of a couple other quick things to say regarding reviews. And this is a question that came up recently. I only noticed it because I checked out one of my books, the plot dot, which is a really short, quick guide to plotting that I made perma-free. I already had the content. I figured I might as well make it more available on Amazon. And although there are like 50 positive reviews now, which is great, more than I expected, it is a really simple book, but a lot of people really liked the content. When you're on that page, the first 2 reviews are really negative 1-star reviews. And this is another common frustration about reviews. Amazon a while ago was playing with taking away this feature, but it seems like it's back to stay, and that's the voted most helpful feature. So on Amazon, people can vote if a review is helpful or not, but what always happens is that people who haven't actually read the book will agree with the negative reviews because it warns them away from the book, and they will feel like that review is more authentic and helpful. It saved them from, making a bad choice or bad investment. And that's why almost always the bad reviews will float to the top. So despite having like a 4.9 average over 50 reviews, which is pretty good for the book. So as a general indication of the quality of the book, all of the other reviews definitely point one way. But when readers show up on that book page, the first thing that they see are those 2 negative reviews and then a couple positive reviews. But and you would like to think readers are smart enough that they would look at the total review number, but they might actually think, well, all of those must be not true because I trust these 2 negative star reviews first, and there must be a reason that Amazon has featured them, and it's only because they're voted more helpful. So they have like 5 or 8 most helpful clicks, which isn't actually a lot, but it's enough to keep those negative reviews on top. So I've had this question come up before, and the only real solution is to get other people to vote on the more helpful reviews that better represent the content of the book, which you can do, but it gets a little bit weird because if you ask your readers or even other authors or whatnot to, upvote those positive reviews, it can feel kind of spammy. Not everybody understands what's going on. You can't really expect them to vote for something unless they've read it. I think it's fair if you want and you have some established readers to explain the situation and say, if you read this book also and you disagree with these 2 negative reviews, would you mind helping me out and upvoting some of the positive reviews? That's a way to fix it. Like I said, it is a little bit risky because you don't want to come across as doing anything spammy and illegal, even if technically it makes sense and morally it seems permissible. It's just something you want to be a little bit careful about. In this case also, one of the reviews was like, this stuff is all basic, there's nothing new here, which is not incorrect. My plot dot method is a simplification of a lot of other resources. That's the benefit. So a lot of people love it because it simplifies really challenging topics in a way that's more clear than most other books on the topic will. So I don't actually disagree with that review. They didn't like it because of that reason. That's okay. And the other one was something about formatting. It didn't look right on a Kindle White reader, so maybe I screwed up the ebook formatting somehow, which is also probably true. So I can fix it. And so here's another thing, responding to reviews. You may feel entitled to respond to negative reviews when they misrepresent the information or the content. And most people will tell you absolutely never respond to reviews at all because it always backfires. It looks like you are defending the book to reviewers. The reviewers may feel attacked, like they don't have the freedom to give their opinion, and it could, be negative. I actually had one years ago on my mermaid book, which is still there. I actually need to clean up my review system. So a couple things actually. I was doing a lot of mermaid research, and on one of my blogs, I posted the research while I was writing the book. So this reviewer went through my book page by page and highlighted all the places where I was allegedly plagiarizing or copying information from the internet when I was actually using my own blog posts. So I don't think I was doing anything wrong. The reviewer was trying to drum up conflict, which some reviewers do, especially in young adult, especially on Goodreads. Some reviewers are looking to find a new banner to rally people behind. So I replied on Goodreads, which I probably shouldn't have. I replied on Amazon that said, like, thanks for your comments, but actually I wrote all of that. I'm not doing the thing you're accusing me of, which only made her angrier, and she, rallied her troops, and then I ignored it from that point on. There's not a lot you can do. It is probably a good idea not to respond in most cases, unless, I would say, if it's something like there are typos in this book, or this book doesn't work on Kindle paper right. If you update the book and you fix or address that issue, then I think it's fair to respond, because then other reviewers will be clicking on that review and they can see that review is no longer a problem. It's not an opinion or an argument. You're just saying, thank you, I agree, I fixed the situation, I fixed the problem, thanks for your comments. I think that's fair to do. And one other thing that's interesting, this probably doesn't happen very often, but in one of my earlier books, which was Write, Format, Publish, Promote, I think, according to this reviewer, I had a lot of typos. It wasn't a very clean manuscript. So one reviewer took it upon herself to take pictures of all of the pages, highlight in red pen, and you can still see this on Amazon, but she uploaded a review and posted all these pictures of showing all the errors in the book. And she's not wrong. In my defense, I will argue that I always focus on the content rather than the perfection. The engagement is priceless. The perfection is cheap. Anybody can pay for a proofreader or an editor and have a clean book. And yes, it's important to get right. It's not something I particularly do well, even though I'm an editor, just because I'm a little fast to market and a little sloppy, and I don't spend as much time or invest as much money on proofreading or editing as some other authors do. Also, although this reviewer allegedly found a whole bunch of typos and grammars and mistakes in my book, I've looked through them. It is true that I have been an editor for a long time. Most of those comments are commas or punctuation issues, or she would have worded it differently. Maybe not impeccable grammar. I deliberately choose to write books that use simple language. They're as clear as possible. I don't necessarily view that as a defect. I'm still not going to go on and argue about that review. There's not very much I can do about that review to remove it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because pictures on reviews tend to float to the top. So one thing that I've thought of doing, which you'd have to be really careful about, is running some kind of a photography contest where I would ask people, I would say I have a new edition, and I would ask people to post a review and also take a picture of the book to post with the review. And I may still do that, just because if you do something like that, it wouldn't get rid of the negative review, but if I had other reviews that had pictures on them, those would rise to the top and displace this one a little bit. It is probably true that on your Amazon page, if the first few reviews are negative, especially if you don't have any reviews, that probably hurts sales or conversion. So if you can do something in a non-spammy way that doesn't make you seem like you're trying to do something dishonest, then it might be worth risking, because it really does affect sales. On the other hand, generally speaking, it's better to review negative reviews and focus on getting more positive reviews and just doing what you can to get more fans or readers into your book. And one thing while I'm on the topic, the other issue that I've seen coming up is quality reported issues. So at the top of your book page, there's a little yellow note that lets readers know that this book has had quality issues reported or something like that. Readers can report any kinds of things. And I know, readers may not like swearing in books. So they may say, this book was great, but the author shouldn't need to swear this much, or something like that. That can be a quality reported issue. Maybe the author doesn't want to go back and remove all the swear words because her core audience actually likes her style of writing. So there are some reasons where it's not always clear cut, and authors may not do what Amazon suggests, which is update the version, correct the issues, update your PDF, and let Amazon know you've taken care of the issue, and they'll remove that banner saying there are quality issues reported. That's not always a feasible option if the issues being reported aren't actually, mistakes. So it's something else to be aware of that can be problematic. I think I do have some typos still in my books. So in those cases, I do need to go back and fix it and review it and update it and try to get rid of those notifications as much as I can. But it's something else to be aware of. Anyway, ending off this video again. Hope it helps. Thanks. Bye-bye.